tries to cover everything it's possible.
Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. The Moines County Board of Supervisors, November 16th, 2021. Are there any changes to the tentative agenda? We have an agenda. Okay. Meet with department heads and elected officials. Sarah Doty, payroll deputy, auditor's office.
I'm just staying busy, nothing new to report from my end.
Yeah, thank you. Calendars, IT.
Just keeping busy like always, nothing new to report, so.
Okay. I'll give you my phone after the meeting.
Yeah, I'll get that set up.
Okay. Kevin Glendenning, Des Moines County Sheriff.
Good morning. The correctional center is at 71. There's 2 adults out of county and we have 2 juveniles out of county now. Other than that, we had our promotional testing and interviews last week, so we're all set up for that. And we'll have some appointments over to you gentlemen in the near future for those promotions that will take effect at the end of the year. So we're excited to have that completed and kind of know the landscape moving forward. Other than that, everything's going well at the sheriff's office.
Are you gonna set up a work session with Brett? So he can maybe try to sell it to the board that we let him retire?
I talked him into staying another year, and that was a difficult sell as it was, so I think he's ready. And he's well deserved, 32 years, so.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yep.
Terry Johnson, Moines County Auditor.
Good morning. We're just staying busy in the office, and we've got the second tier canvas and finally finish off the city school election for the year anyway. So
Good. Thank you. Zach James, Landview.
Yeah, good morning, things going pretty well. Got a couple subdivisions out for review and a few more that I think will be coming here in the near future. A lot of people looking to split some property here lately, so I think we'll be getting some more here before the end of the year. We'll floodplain requests out as well, and then looking to get a work session on the calendar here soon for zoning subdivision review. Those updated ordinances and then the airport approach zone and stuff too we talked about. So just trying to find the right date, I think, for that, because I know a lot of work sessions here coming up, but I think we're ready to bring that up to you guys too, so.
Thanks, Zach.
Yep.
Brian Carter, Secondary Road.
Good morning. I want to piggyback real quick off of something Zach said. Regional planning does a really nice job of telling anybody that contacts them ahead of time about subdivisions that they need to reach out to my office about driveways. But I want to mention it also that if you're thinking about a subdivision before you go invest in a surveyor, if there's an access issue, you need to reach out. Because I don't flex on driveways just because that's where you decided you wanted to put your parcel lines. We just got an example here within the last week or two where they're now rewriting a description because I made the driveway move for better sight distance. It was an existing driveway, but they put a house in. And, so I wanted that safety for that situation. So I just want to mention it because a couple times a year, somebody, I think they probably call regional planning and just ask some basic questions with no commitment or anything. Then they go have a surveyor do the work, and then they come back for a minor subdivision, basically. And then I end up throwing a kink in it. So it doesn't happen very often, but it's an easy phone call. We're always happy to take a look. But it's worth that to save a little, at least save a trip and a little extra money on a surveyor. So just want to mention that. When they do bring it up though, like I said, regional planning does a good job of referring them on to our office and for them to ask questions. And 9 times out of 10, there's no issues. But since it just came up, I thought I would mention it. I had a few folks frustrated over that, but would mention that the work on Pleasant Grove that was gonna get done this fall is done. Came in, did some erosion control, and put some temporary seating in. which clearly unless we get a longer stretch of warm weather, we won't see a lot of growth, but the erosion control will help in case of lack of growth, but, and then it'll get reseeded next year when they do the work if we need to. Sometimes that stuff pops right up as soon as it warms up in the spring, so if you're through there, that's what you see is what you get until we go to closure next year, so. And then I also wanna mention there's flashing signs all over the place if you go up and down Highway 61. As you know, they've had the paving, DOT's had the paving contractor back in, not getting a lot done, they're just getting, I say, a core few items done. One of those items being 2 intersections for us was the paved connection at Pleasant Grove and Dodgeville Road. If you've been through there or gone Pleasant Grove at least, those are temporary. Those will get closed again next year at some point when they do the final grading and the final paving. And it'll be closed for quite a while actually, if I had to guess. So those are connected and open. As far as I can tell, they're trying to get all their paving, all their connections done, and then on the 23rd of November, just ahead of Thanksgiving, their intention is to bring their traffic control down. So I believe that 23rd is not only when they're gonna go to a new switchover, or crossover is what they call them, on when you go north of Burlington, but also when they're gonna open Upper Flint. So I wanted to note that it sounds to me like the 23rd is going to be a big changing day and possibly even bigger than that, because they have to move a bunch of traffic control to get ready for winter time, and maybe that's all happening at the same time. I will see, but I believe Upper Flint will be opening up, and there will be a fair number of people pleased about that, including me. So anyone want to give you a heads up on that? Other than that, guys are still going. We're gonna keep going as long as the weather allows us. You're always on borrowed time. We had our first snow the other day, but it didn't cause us any issues. So they're still doing projects. So.
Thank you, Brian. Natalie Steffner, Des Moines County Recorder.
Good morning, just business as usual in the recorder's office.
Major busy.
Always.
Janelle Alley Lundquist, Des Moines County Treasurer.
Good morning. I'll just echo the same thing. We're busy.
Thanks, Janelle.
You're welcome.
Ken Heinman, Community Services.
Good morning. Not a lot new to report this time. I know Ryan had mentioned that the CEOs are still waiting for DHS to finish their performance-based contracting and get that back to CEOs. So they're making the final revisions, I guess, on it, and we're still waiting for that to come in. That'll start, I think, after January 1. So that's about it for now.
Angie Vaughn, Safety.
Good morning. I really don't have anything for you guys this morning, so all's going good. Just keeping busy.
Thanks, Angie. Rodney Gleesner, Maintenance.
Excuse me. Good morning. Attended a kind of a roundtable discussion put on by the Downtown Partners last Wednesday night at the Greater Burlington Partnership Office with in regards to the Tiger Grant project that the city's got going on. So as you know, they've kind of started that on Jefferson, and it really doesn't affect us right now, but like phase, I think 4 or 5, whatever it is, it's gonna affect our stretch here on Main Street. So they're going down Jefferson and Main Street. So it is gonna affect us quite a bit in the future. So it's kind of nice to start and get involved in some of those discussions. They had a guy from Downtown Professionals Network out of Tennessee that had kind of been worked with a lot of cities in these big downtown construction deals, coming up with some ideas of how to get people where they need to go for their businesses and signage, and just lots of discussion and things that help those cities get through that process. So we're gonna have some challenges that we're gonna be facing here in a couple years when they get down to our section. So it was nice to be able to start getting involved in that part of it. So, but it'll be interesting. But at least we got some time to work towards that. So, when I get more information, I can pass that on to you later on. But right now, we don't have to worry too much about it because they're not even close yet to us. But but we'll be getting there, so.
That's good, I won't worry about it then.
You know, it's amazing, they talk about getting downtown revitalized. When I was a young man, first married, that shopping area was downtown Burlington. I mean, we had everything, men's clothing, women's clothing, appliances. And we had 2 lanes going each way, so we could drag back and forth. We had a lot of fun.
You think they're gonna bring that back?
What's that?
Kevin would probably frown on that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
I said, you think they're gonna bring that back?
It'd be nice.
It's coming back, that and black and white TV.
Just put a filter on it.
Thank you, Rodney. Krista Pokemon, Public Health.
Good morning. We continue to be busy at our office as well. I want to thank Sheriff Glenn Denny and his office. They had a vehicle they were no longer using, so they repurposed it and gave to public health, and we'll put it back to good use, so thank you. Currently, our percentage, 7-day percentage for positivity rate for COVID is 9% with 66 cases. Again, there'll be new numbers that come out tomorrow. We're continuing vaccination clinics. Tomorrow, Wednesday, and Friday this week, we will still be at Southeastern Community College Fairgrounds to do the drive-throughs from 8:30 to 4. And then following Thanksgiving, we will start vaccine clinics at our office. So it'll be Mondays and Wednesdays that we will be doing adult vaccines at our office from 8:30 to 4. They can sign up through the internet, going to the Des Moines County website, or we also welcome walk-ins. And on Thursdays, we will be doing pediatric, the 5 to 11-year-olds. So our numbers continue to go up as far as the vaccine rates for persons 65 and older. We're at 82%, and 18 and older, we're at 58% for the county.
Thank you, Krista. I'm sure Chris will be here somewhere.
He had her upstairs for a quick Zoom meeting, he said.
Oh, okay. Sure, waiting on that. I didn't miss anybody. We will proceed to correspondence. Yeah. We have a correspondence from the Iowa Utilities Board in reference to the carbon capture pipeline in our county that we've discussed a couple times in here. Rather than subject you all to my reading the whole letter, it will be on file, available for review at the auditor's office. Discussion and vote. We have accounts payable, the amount of $1,251,067.60. Second. Sarah.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have payroll reimbursement claims in the amount of $491.54.
Move to approve reimbursement claims.
Second?
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. And we have tax abatement request for the city of Burlington, 22 properties.
I move to approve.
Each and all 22, I'm assuming.
All 22 tons. Just so we can expedite
Okay,
those.
well, I was not counting on reading anyway. We will sign those after the meeting. No faster than I scroll, that'll take a while. Second.
Okay.
Sarah?
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Tom Broker.
Yes. We have the clerk's Clerk of Courts report for fees collected October 2021. This report will be on file at the auditor's office and available for public review. We have minutes for the regular meeting of November 9th.
Move first.
Second. Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Aye.
Tom Broker.
Abstain. And we have a second tier canvas of the 2021 city school election.
Here's a copy for each of
You guys, because this is the results of, for Danville School District, Mediapolis School District, and SCC, because those school districts go over county lines, so I had to wait to, after each county did their canvas last week, and then they send me the abstracts. And what
Was
this-
Mediapolis School, no, Wise County.
Yes.
Doesn't matter.
And that's why, let's see, what was there? 2 of them from Henry County, and I think 2 from Louisa County School Districts that we did abstracts for last week, that I forwarded up to them. So those school districts in those counties will be having the second tier canvas. And for Danville School District and Des Moines County, of course, we had our votes, and then Henry County had Sandy Dockendorf got 8 more votes, Taylor Eichman got 3 more, John Paul Van Busker got 11 more, and Jason Samples got 9 more. So, there's their totals for them. Sandy ended up with 148, Taylor with 121, John Paul 193, and Jason Samples 234. So it didn't change any of the results for that school district. Mediapolis School Board, the 3 of the candidates got 2 more votes. So Richard Whitaker ended up with 239, John Woody 218, Peter Fife 175, and Mark Schmidt-Gall 325. So it didn't change any of those results either. And then for SCC, we had Henry County and Louisa County. And of course, Louisa County has a much larger, not larger than ours, but anyway, Lanny Hilliard ended up with 1,735 votes with 20 scattering. So those results remain the same too, but we had to make sure that we get all of those other counties added in for the second tier canvas. And so that's all the results that you have right there is the abstract of votes that I send to the school districts and the college, and the summary that shows the results, so.
And none of the final results were affected.
Nope, none of the final results were affected. Didn't change the race, the candidates. Okay.
Thank you, Terry.
Move the canvas the way it's presented to us.
Second. Sarah?
Jim Carrey,
Yes.
Shane McCampbell,
Yep.
Tom Broker.
Yes. I'm gonna set this here too, in the interest of expediency. I don't wanna get in trouble with Terry or Chandra if I sign the wrong place. So, see how that works. Any other business? Future agenda items.
And Tom, for future agenda items, I know we've got a lot of work sessions coming up, so we'll have to sit down and
Okay.
go over all of those to make sure that we get them all, because Jared, like I said, Jared's contacted me for the zoning and the subdivision ordinance to go over work sessions with that, so. Plus with all the ARPA and all that, everything else, we just.
Apparently we'll save a little time if we're not gonna have one for Brett.
Yeah.
Kevin's back there chuckling.
So there's that.
So we'll have time for another work session then.
I believe, Mike Norris is
Yeah, he's supposed to be here
Next
next
week, I
week,
think.
so
Yeah.
whether you wanna try to get the ordinance one in at the same time that Mike's here, I don't know, Zach can tell us what works good for them, so.
Okay.
Whatever works for you guys.
Thank you. Committee reports. We had a scenic drive. Actually, I did. We had a Seal Region Board of Governors had a meeting with a couple of legislators and tried to make our case that without affecting, you know, the legislative intent of Senate File 619 with property taxes and the mental health, if they would give us Fund 10 back. And they were interested, and they said they'd heard a little bit before, so I think there's gonna be some sort of an effort at the State House, however that works out. But it was nice that they sat down and listened to us, so, and I know Ryan's heard from at least one or two other legislators that, so we have our fingers crossed that maybe we'll be able to keep Fund 10 and be able to pay.
Yeah, pay our
Ken,
salaries.
rather than just shut him off on June 30th.
That would be nice.
Yeah. That's all I have. Public input. If anybody would like to comment or a question for the board, you may email the Board of Supervisors at board@dmcounty.com. That's BOARD@dmcounty.com. Or you may call 319-753-8203, extension 4. That's 319-753-8203, extension 4. We'll give you a couple minutes to initiate that email or call. In the interim, anybody present have any comments or questions? It's quite a quiet group.
Have you heard much about the new infrastructure bill that got signed yesterday?
I think it's $1.2 trillion. And then I got an email from you, says there'd be about $480 million for the roads for Iowa. So, but that's, I don't know that'll, there's probably places out there you can find out, and I have not taken the time to look at it.
It'll find us, trust me.
There's some money coming though.
Yeah, it'll come to the state and funnel through all the equations that we already have set up, and there's not been any emails come out yet about anything as far as from the state to the counties. So, I reached out to the state here a week or two ago, I think it was last week, and they did not have any preliminary numbers worked up yet that they were willing to release at least, so. I'm sure we'll hear quite a bit more of it. We have our annual winter meeting coming up here in a couple weeks. My guess is it'll be a big topic.
Speaking of email, I just wanna give you a shout out. Thank you for taking care of my phone. It's made my life a whole lot easier. I shouldn't have waited. I should have listened to you the first time. But I appreciate that.
Speaking of Colin, I appreciate the email you sent out about the $480 million. And Colin mentioned that his wife is less than.
Oh, yeah, right.
Less than overjoyed about his spending time at home.
I was sitting downstairs and I was
Words
worried
were
about
that she
some other
loved it.
stuff, and dinner was ready. She just came down, she's like, "Dinner's ready, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm reading about the infrastructure package, how much money?" She's like,
Don't let that discourage you.
You haven't been married long enough. I would have automatically lied to Mrs. Broker. To keep from getting in trouble. You'll get there.
Thanks, Thomas, for straightening out the line.
Okay, the end of the 2 minutes with an aye, we're adjourned.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. We have a work session following, in about 5 minutes with Zach James from the Southeast Iowa Regional Planning regarding the request for qualifications for public health building.
Get that thing fired up, later we're gonna start.
I know.
Got it? Okay. We have a work session with Zach James of Southeast Iowa Regional Planning regarding a request for qualifications for construction management services regarding the Public Health Department building we're planning to do with American Recovery Plan funds. First off, Zach, thank you for
Yeah, no problem.
getting this. I went through this last night, I don't remember where I got it all. The one thing I did see is where you've got project background.
Yep.
You have 2 paragraphs there. I would take the second sentence in the second paragraph and put it at the end of the first sentence, because the first paragraph describes the physical and geographic limitations, and then that says that it isn't possible because of those limitations. And then down below, it would be a new public health building would be situated. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
You
Makes
guys
sense.
have any, of that second sentence of the second paragraph, where it says project background, I would take where it says the physical and geographical aspects of the existing building are such that the rehabilitation of the existing building isn't possible to reach the required level of functionality. I would put that at the end of the first paragraph, and then leave a new public health building would be situated as a standalone paragraph where it's at. I was not an English major, so I'm open to criticism on this.
Makes sense to me. Well, I don't know too, I don't know if everybody saw the other one that Mike and I had worked on for architectural engineering services before this one. This is almost the same thing, except the scope of work section, I think, is really all we modified. Pretty much everything else is the same. And the stuff in the scope of work was information I got from the packet that Carly Nelson brought, but then I just looked at a couple other RFQs online from other projects across the country. And just found a couple other little tidbits here and there that I thought would make sense, so. I don't know if you wanna go through any of those things or just read through it and then let me know if you got questions or comments or.
I thought the rest of it, and actually, you know, where you got the evaluation criteria, I think that's the same as it was before,
It is.
and it's weighted heavily toward experience and technical abilities, you know, I like that. And I'm comfortable with the selection evaluation criteria.
The point system, that's standard, right?
No, it's flexible dating project.
And you can adjust that how you want. I don't even know if you have to have a point standard,
Well,
but you have to have something to
the-
base your decision on though, so it just makes it a little bit easier to
Gives
justify
you a
why you're
guideline.
picking something.
When I talked to a guy from, the finance guy, we was the finance guy from Scott County, after an ISAC class on this, he said, if you're gonna go out for an RFQ, he said, this isn't FEMA, what we're dealing with the federal government. They will want you to search out somebody for an RFQ, and they don't want to just say, well, we'll get together and we'll give it to Sam's brother-in-law. You know, they like to have some sort of a objective or somewhat objective, what you're looking for, and then go through here and score everybody according to that criteria.
Yeah, it makes it much easier just to document what you did.
Yeah.
And I don't think we put it in here typically, and it does say a selection committee, we don't know what that is, but typically we'll have 3-5 people get together to review them. It could be more than that too, but, so everybody would score it and then you average scores.
That's not a bad idea. I guess we would want the board of supervisors and either Chris or a representative from the board of health. And Brian, he's on the, Brian's our only engineer. And I think there's, well, you talk about it.
Have other choices.
I I didn't want to say
that.
And I'm not sure we would have to talk about, put Rodney on that committee, but I want Rodney to be involved in this, because he'll have an idea and say, well, this won't work well for us, because such and such reason that most of the rest of us wouldn't see. So we're gonna need his input.
I had a couple things on this. Every time we've talked, there's been some conversation, the board was already just looking around at possible site options and such. If it's, I noticed that the second point under pre-construction, first page, project scope, it does mention the contractor you hire assisting with determining the best location of a new facility. Now that, I wonder if we wanna say best location of a new facility on selected site, or if that was intended to be the site selection. Because as I understood it, the goal was if possible, to try to have the site, which I think would be the best case scenario, have the site and move forward from there. So to me, if you got a plan, I'd rather be clear on what they're assisting with, whether they're assisting with location of the building on a lot that's already
Location
determined.
actually on the site that we've
Yes.
got.
So that was one of the questions I had for the board.
Like,
Well, my intent when I wrote it was determining like where it would be.
On a site.
No, like
Or
where,
location.
location, yeah.
I just felt like that
Which
needed-
I understand what you're
We
getting
might
at,
have-
and I think that makes sense.
we might have a site.
And that's all, I didn't know.
Before we select,
Okay, so that's I would agree,
So,
that's a
yeah,
good
you would-
point to know, do we?
I guess what
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
even if
say
we-
is that I think that it would be better to remove reference to helping find an actual site. And then if you guys don't find something, bring it back in because it was unforeseen that it wasn't gonna be there, then I would have put work in there that they may bid on. That doesn't happen. I mean, that's kind of my position, because I think the board's goal is to try to find a site first.
Do we need help from, on the RFQ, do we need help finding a site? Because I don't think we really need assistance with finding a site.
That's where I'm going as, I wouldn't put that in there unless that's one of your guys' plans.
and I noticed that too, and I don't disagree that we should either modify that or eliminate it at all. Determine the best location.
Can you change that?
We could either
We-
change it to say
unselected
on
site.
selected site or just get rid of it, either way.
The best location of the new facility
On existing site or something.
on the selected site.
Because
Something
they
like
will
that.
have say in how something's gonna be set up and all of that stuff, and we do want their say.
And then
Like
with the
say, you know,
engineers and
it would be
architects.
better
That
if it
makes
was
sense.
facing the north or facing the east or something like that.
So we can modify that a little bit to focus just on whatever site you guys
Yeah,
decide
I
on.
would use
I thought that was the angle you guys were after, but I wanted to ask.
Yep.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah, let's change that
Next.
to,
Point number 4, I read this and it didn't read right to me. Again, I'm along Tom, English is my third language. I'm still trying to figure out the first two. And so,
It's missing some.
I got to the end of it and or not to the middle of it, after codes, let's just say, applicable codes to ensure, and I crossed out and just put ensure facility is able to pass inspection, and crossed out while, I think, to pass inspection and to avoid inaccurate application
There's some extra words.
of
in
code requirements. That line is really wordy, it could be a lot shorter, but I just think there's a couple words in there that don't
so
belong.
we took out your,
Didn't
what
read
else
right.
did you take out?
there. You're
And
correct.
While,
I'd say, wow.
it could be condensed, I just felt there was some stuff in there. You're basically saying, make sure it gets
Yeah.
billed to code.
Yep,
Um,
we can clean that up.
I didn't spend a lot of time on this, I'm happy to work with Zach, I just feel like when you're writing these things, to be as accurate and short and to the point as possible. But,
Put something in there you end up having to pay for and you don't need.
the next thing I noted was in the 2 bullet points down, it says assist owner and design team with a value engineering review to determine ways to reduce upfront construction costs and ongoing maintenance expenses. Nowhere, unless I missed it, I learned this from the county attorney's office, every time you use a term like owner, typically it's identified somewhere else in the document as to who you're describing. I think we all know Des Moines County's the owner or the board of supervisors, but I thought, I thought we either need to identify the board as to be described as owner, or we need to just reference it as BOS or Board of Supervisors. I just felt like that needed to be identified rather than just broadly stated as owner. We all know what it is, but it's just one of my opinions. And then I thought later on in that sentence, instead of ways to reduce upfront construction costs, because you're not trying to reduce upfront construction costs, you're trying to be the most economical and effective, I guess I'd use the word minimize, or some other version. I don't like the word reduce. Reduce suggests that you already think you're high. You have no idea right now. You're hoping this person can bring a project in at the most reasonable price possible. I just don't like the word reduce because it alludes to the fact you already feel like you're too high. I don't think it's the proper spot there, so.
Minimize.
I thought minimize was better, or just somehow just mentioning that you're trying to put together the most economical or, most
Cost effective?
cost-effective project possible, or something like that. I don't know. I think the sentence belongs there, I don't like the word reduce. Reduce applies when all of a sudden you get bids in at 4.5 million and your cap was 4 million, and then you're starting to reduce things.
Do you need, does this work assist, board of supervisors and design team with a value engineering review, to assist with ongoing maintenance expenses and just cut out, you know what I'm saying, to determine ways to reduce.
I don't find language at the end of that saying you want the most cost-effective structure. I think that's one of the things we actually discussed at one point during that presentation, or that was brought up, was ways, finding ways to make it more efficient. So, it can be figured out, I just didn't like the word reduce.
Batman, take care of it.
And
Notes,
then,
notes taken.
next bullet point, sorry, Zach.
Jeez, Brian.
Prepare and market bid packages to increase competition and reduce prices at bid opening. I would just strip that and just say to allow for competitive bids. That's
That's fine.
that's your ultimate goal. If you guys like everything, that's fine. This is just how I put documents
I
together.
like concise.
So,
Some of these you don't even need to, so you can even just have it as prepare and market bid packages.
yeah, I did note at the top of this, just a general statement, and it kind of goes back to adjusting that. There's very little verbiage in this document about assisting with the site layout. And that we already hit that a little bit on that one line, as far as not the site for the building, or for the overall location, but the site but there's not a lot in here talking about assistance with site layout. So I thought maybe that one line we talked about right off the bat could hit that site layout part of it. So I just didn't feel like there was a lot of reference, that's pretty important. Not only you're building a building, but you want them to help you figure out where it belongs, the best spot, so.
You mean to assist design team in site layout of the selected,
Something along those lines, yeah.
location?
That was the rewording in that second bullet.
Yeah, and I thought that second word would hit that and be good enough. One of the notes I made going through this was that site layout was not really included anywhere. But it's a pretty big part of the project. Top of the next page, Zach, under construction, you got a capital C. Construction shouldn't be capitalized. And then I'd say a facility, we referenced public health facility all the way through it, but either way. Okay, so third bullet point down under construction. I don't have an answer for this, I just wanted, before we put it in here, I wanted to see if everybody thought that's what they expected, because I'm not sure it's what I expect, and I think he alluded to the fact that this is a small project, and it says employee superintendent who shall remain on site continuously.
I saw that too, and somewhere in here it says, after we've selected, we will negotiate final price. I would have thought that would be the time. They could look at
Discuss how
that, and that
frequently
would
they'll
be
be
the time,
there.
and they say, okay, you're paying X number of dollars for that. For X number of dollars less, we could do this.
Yeah, I just not sure, I mean, if I'm quoting this again, I'm theoretically, if I quote that, I'm quoting having a body on site, and the word continuously is all the time. I'm not sure that's what you wanna spend your money on. You want them there.
Understood, but I don't think this one's, because it's got a,
Consistently might be better, or, I don't know.
Just even just
I'm
gonna
just,
take it out, then.
I just wanna note that if you guys are comfortable with it, I'm good with it. I just,
where it's got the estimated project schedule, and maybe I read more into it. The last, on that page, the last sentence says, negotiation with the selected consultant will commence upon notice that the selection process is fully completed. That, I don't think there's when we originally discussed this, there's not really a price negotiation involved in this.
yes.
It's qualification based.
Qualification.
And in this, don't we just need, just for that, hire a superintendent? Because do we need anything else in this?
And that's,
I'm just
Tom
saying.
brings up a good point. You're not negotiating price during this. I'm just wanna mention that I noticed that.
And I did too, thought about that a little bit. I thought that's something during the negotiation. We could say, okay, they're saying, well, we want X number of dollars. Say, well, how necessary do you think that full-time consultant is? And they can say, not very, it's essential or something like that. You could have that discussion, say, what would it save if we had,
Yeah.
I guess I just looked at that as a discussion that would go on after we'd selected.
Okay.
Does that make sense? If it doesn't, feel free to tell me.
No, I was looking at this as a contractor, looking at this, that they're gonna come make a presentation to you. And when you look at the scoring criteria, it talks about ability to complete the project on time. So if I looked at that, immediately, I'm guessing in my head, I'm thinking they want somebody here all the time. So one of my sale points to you is gonna be, hey, we're willing to set a body aside to be here all the time. I think it's fine to leave in there, I just don't think it's what you guys really want. That's just my guess. And I think he alluded to the fact
That
that
he
this is
wasn't
a
going to be
small
there
project in the
24/7,
big
yeah.
scope of things, and that they probably would not commit a single person full-time on site. I thought that, or I remembered that, so I don't think it's the end of the world either way, I wanted to point it out.
Do you think it would make sense to either just remove that or change it to say regularly or?
Yeah,
consistently
regularly or
something
daily, or,
something, yeah.
because I do think something daily would be reasonable, especially it's here in town kind of thing, but, because I have seen projects on behalf of the board where that did not happen and it was a cluster because of it, so I think it's important to be addressed.
Employ a superintendent who
I
shall,
would think daily at least.
yeah.
I think, I like daily, and then it can be negotiated beyond that.
Okay.
That gives them the idea that you expect somebody to be there every
Stop
day.
it today.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I think that's good.
Third one from the bottom under construction, I think you need review at the beginning of that line. It just says any day-to-day on-site problem solving. I think you need review, any day-to-day on-site problem solving, communications and change orders, something like that.
Yep.
Or review and relay, I guess, because they're supposed to be keeping the board in the loop, or whoever the board's person is that's helping.
Liaison.
Yeah, liaison.
Yeah, so you guys are gonna wanna know if there's any on-site problems or anything, you're gonna wanna find out about it.
So, yeah,
Week or
maybe
two later,
review
so
and relay to board of supervisors.
Any day-to-day and on-site.
And then when I go all the way down, the only other thing I wanna mention, and I've noted this in the past I think on the last one actually, I notified or brought it up, there's no way in the world, but when we normally hold budget for 2 weeks, that January 17th is a good date for this. I mean, there's 2 weeks in there where I know the board doesn't have any time in their schedule to be working or meeting for interviews, or even meeting for, unless we're gonna go to some evening stuff. It needs to get done. I just want you to think, the board needs to think about that schedule and just think about what's realistic for you to fit in additional meetings to maybe not do interviews, because to meet that schedule, your interviews better darn well be done before that, because there's no way you have time for interviews.
We're only gonna
There was-
interview top 2 or 3 firms that we try.
There was,
Yeah.
those were questions that I had, I mean, I just threw dates in, and I really had no
Oh.
idea what you guys are expecting,
And
so that was.
I haven't worked on that schedule yet for the budget hearing, so you guys can look at your calendars and let me know which weeks you want to work on, so I can have that when we have our budget hearings, so I can make people sign up for their days that they want to have their budget hearing. And then that way you guys can let me know which days and which times during those days you would like to work on. So then that way I can start taking that.
And we have to have numbers a little earlier because when they changed it all a couple of years ago, so that you have to come out and do.
Yeah, it's not like you can push it back.
Yeah, because I think we started budget hearings like the week after the first week of January,
I think that's
the second or third
typically,
week.
yeah.
My suggestion, because I don't think in the big picture it's gonna be the end of the world, once those 2 weeks of fairly, I think, intense as far as schedule-wise meetings with department heads and stuff like that happen, I think anywhere after that for a couple weeks, I think interviews fit in. It is still busy. Cheryl's busy and all that sort of stuff, but I suspect whatever committee this is could fit in interviews, or the interviews could get done and then the evaluations could get through there. I'm just throwing it out there that having that date there might be, the only way I think that date can be actually hit, in my opinion, is if all the interviews are done before Christmas. Because if you start thinking holidays, you got Christmas in there and you've got New Year's.
So what would you put it back to the end of January, first part of February?
It's just my opinion. I don't wanna push anything
And I don't
back.
have
I
a
just wanna
problem
bring
with
it
it.
up for you guys to think about.
It's gonna be tough to get everybody together the last couple of weeks of December if you were gonna do something then.
It's.
And all
it's-
these dates were just thrown out.
No, I'm not-
I left
I
them
understand.
highlighted, cause
I
that was a
understand.
discussion item I was gonna have
And you
to.
also need to allow the companies to have time to be able to.
Well, and that's the other thing, depending on how soon we get the, you're right, because, again, okay, so we're working on this, it's middle of November. Next week's Thanksgiving. This thing's gotta kick out, you gotta give it to a company, you need to give a company, what, a month at least? I would think
Usually 3
reasonably
to
to
4
prepare
weeks.
your presentation.
And you got lots of holidays in there.
I'm not sure you're taking presentations after talking that through until after you're done with your cluster of budget meetings. So it means you're probably not doing presentations until the last week or two of January. So your selection probably is until the first week or two of February. And maybe I'm pushing that further back than the board wants. This is really what the board wants for a schedule. I just wanna note that that's a very tough time of year to make all that
So
happen.
however many people we invite, they send in a PDF with all their qualifications.
Which you, yeah.
Anyway, the board will review those. Anyway.
Our selection committee.
This selection committee,
Yeah.
whatever you wanna call it. Anyway, so then they will say, okay, you've got a company, C company, and L company, you know, that we think look above, you know, are more qualified than the others. We invite them in for an interview / presentation. Is that what we're talking about?
If you want to, yep. That's an optional thing too, I put it in there, cause
Well, I think you
it was
wanna
brought
talk
up,
to the,
but it's something you don't have to do, but.
to finalists, you know, cause,
I agree.
how, so, yeah, I think maybe you're better off, you, rather than trying to get it in before the end of the year, you make it early in January, and then toward the, end of January, 1st of February, you've had time to go through them and say, we're gonna bet them.
I think that committee has no problem reviewing those PDFs. I think you're only getting 2 or 3. I've looked at some other school projects around here online, they got 2. There's one other company in the back of my head that I think might think about this, but I think you're only looking at 2 or 3 anyway. I don't think that committee has any issues reviewing a PDF and then having one meeting at some point in that 2 to 3 week window and saying, here's what I think, here's what I think. Because you only get 2 or 3, you're probably interviewing 2 or 3 anyway, unless one is just you know, not realistic. And then I don't think there's any problem scheduling. Then somewhere there over that holiday season, you can go ahead and set a meeting date with everybody on their calendar right there in that, let's say, the 3rd week of January, whenever it is that week after the budget presentations, and you try to do both your interviews that week, And that gives you some time to debate, and then I think you're making a decision by very beginning, early February, just as I think it through.
So you're talking about the last week of January doing the.
Second to last or last, depending on how those fall.
I think we're gonna have some union negotiations in this too.
You will, that's a great point, Jim. I hadn't thought about that, but you absolutely will.
And the RFQs, isn't that something that if somebody's interested in submitting, don't the companies usually have something like that prepared anyway, that they just?
Well, they'll customize it,
Yeah,
they'll have a
customize it to
template, they'll have a
whatever.
template
So it's-
already out there, and then they'll
So it's not
customize
like
it
they're
to our
reinventing
project.
the wheel, it's probably something that they already have created.
I think he actually addressed that just very, very briefly too, about needing some time to model, tailor their stuff to our
What
project.
you've asked for, whether it's a health care, but but they would have stuff that I'm sure that you can cut and paste and put some of that stuff together and take more time to do that.
I mean, I've gotta believe we'll be doing, I'm assuming, I haven't talked to Cheryl, I'm assuming we'll be doing budget meetings the week of the 3rd and the 10th. Maybe that's too early.
And maybe
it's the 10th and
sometimes
the
that gets
17th.
pushed back if somebody, you have something now you could, especially with union negotiations going on.
And like
'Cause
Jim
we'll get the insurance numbers supposedly, January 11th, I believe.
Well,
And I think the unions would like to see those before they settle.
let's face it, we can pick a date to do interviews for this and miss union negotiations. I think all this can be figured out. You guys need to be thinking about your calendar and your date, and I think we can get all this laid out so people can put it in their calendar, whoever you choose to have on this committee.
But it's not gonna be till next year. There's too much of a squeeze to try to get them before the end of the year. I think we all admit to that, so it's gonna
I
happen
mean,
in
you could do
January,
it, but
right?
it would be,
Squeeze it in
it'd
the
be
last
really
week.
tight.
Squeeze it in the last week of January, if we're gonna be 2 or 3, that should be, because we should have,
That's
the
my
budget
opinion.
hearing should be over,
And it gives them
union
a,
negotiations should be settled out. And that gives us an extra
well,
week there.
and we're only talking, if we can get them both on the same day, like one in the morning, one in the afternoon, you're not talking about a ton of time to do it. I'm just talking, you're talking about a lot of other stuff going around it. You're gonna be able to fit in negotiations. I mean, it's gonna be busy. When isn't it busy, especially with negotiations? So,
Yeah, no, I agree, I think that's probably,
I think you could right now say you anticipate the interviews and selection process to occur that last week of January or something like that, or interviews the last week of January and the selection process the first week of February or something like that to give them kind of target dates. That doesn't seem like too bad of an estimate if the board doesn't think so. I just think it needs thought about at least.
yeah, no, I agree, because we'll be busy there. You guys, Jim, that work for you?
Yeah, I had to sit there and think about that. That's gonna be better than trying to do the first part of the day.
Yeah. So we're gonna ask them for their,
I think you want their proposals. I think you want to give them 3 weeks to a month to prepare, so we can get this thing mailed out by the beginning of December, or we can get it advertised by the middle of December, by the beginning of December. I think you request their proposal, after the new year, maybe the first full week of January, the end of the first full week of January. We don't need,
Give them a chance to get through their bull crap too, so we can
that'd
get
be,
it.
what's the 7th, the
Friday.
first, the
Would be
Friday?
the end of the first
okay,
full week.
Friday.
something like that.
Yeah.
That gives them, I mean, there are holidays in there, they can miss those and spend time at the beginning of December. It'd be nice if it was in their hands at the beginning of December so that they had time ahead of the holidays instead of,
And then have them back the 7th.
but, I mean,
Yes.
yeah. I think the biggest challenge should be able to review them at that point, because most department heads should have their budget ready to present to the board by then or darn close to that. Whoever's gonna be on that, I think the biggest challenge to actually review that will be for the board, because they're in every budget meeting rather than the department heads only having one budget meeting with the board. And then there's department heads, Kevin and I and a couple others that will be involved with union negotiations, but it's always busy, we'll make that work.
Okay.
So, I don't know what you guys think about that.
That's good, I'm sure that's a more realistic schedule.
We get this rewrote, can you email that to all of us this time, Zach, instead of Just Tom, so we can have this in advance.
Yes.
Kind
We
of
do
felt
that.
like I got blindsided here a little bit.
Sorry.
I think that's still a very aggressive schedule, but I think it's a good schedule. I think it can be done.
I'm in.
So then there might be a meeting, like whoever the selection committee would meet maybe the week of the 17th sometime. And then figure out the
The-
interview the week of
For
the
the following week.
24th.
There would probably be a meeting of the selection committee, yes, somewhere in that we'll just have to squeeze it in between everybody's schedules.
Yep. Okay. Makes sense to me.
That-
Tom,
there
I'll
would-
just make a calendar of January so we can start marking on there.
Okay.
Dates, you know, meetings and, or budget hearings and
Well, we can
the other
look
meetings,
at what we all got, yeah.
so we can figure out.
Cause then they gotta figure out, after you got all that in there, then they can try to look at dates that negotiations would work.
You know what, guys? This is called progress. We're gonna get us a new building after 50,000 years in that little cracker box.
All right. I was gonna add one more statement in here too that we usually put in, I don't know why we didn't put it in here, but just something about how the county has the ability to reject all bids or rebid or just leaves it open. And if for some reason you don't get what you want, you have the ability just to, as they start from scratch or
All
whatever.
proposals?
Yeah,
That's probably,
yeah. So I'll add something in there about that.
We'll make a chart and a pencil and you want me to read that.
yeah, that's, you got a list of, did you have anything else, Brian?
No, I think, I'll just say it's picky, but I would have liked to seen the point system be 50% for related past experience, technical abilities and knowledge.
What was it, 40?
40, I just feel like that's the number one most important thing to this entire thing. I think having it be half the score is to the overall project is, as far as points go, is the most important. And personally, what I would do is I would combine the work plan and timeline combined with ability to complete the project together, and then I would shrink that by 10%.
Which
And move
one?
that 10% to the top. It's just purely my opinion.
You would
Nothing-
take which one to 10%?
I would combine ability to complete the project and work plan and timeline, because I look at those as kind of overlapping. They can't complete the project if they can't complete a timeline. So I would combine both of those into one category and make them 30% instead of 40%. That's, I don't know what you guys think, that's just my
No,
opinion.
that's probably good, that's,
And you're throwing that other 10% up to the 50% then, right?
No, yeah, that other 10%'s going to the 50%, yes.
Yep.
I thought about, I like the unique qualities, I think it gives you the opportunity to make give some points towards something unforeseen or towards whatever, I like that.
Something stands out.
Yeah, so I just don't think anything can be more important than somebody that's got good experience and ability and knowledge.
Good one, I think.
So you still wanna leave that at 20 points or would it become 20?
I would make the top one 50%, I'd make the next combined category
Point ones.
30%, and I would leave that other one 20%, the unique qualities one.
But would you leave the points the same?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just going by percentages, the points follow the percentages in my book. I don't even know how many points max you have, I didn't add the points, I just looked at percentages.
50 points, change that to 25.
Okay. So the points would just follow the percentages, is what I would say.
That sounds good. The other thing, you've got, I don't know how many people here that we would send out invitations to. Just, I was in the construction business for decades. And as I went through there, there's at least a half a dozen between these companies I've worked with. And if you went through there, there's probably people that run these companies that didn't run companies when they're, so I'm very possibly know the number of these people, so just so everybody's aware that,
And we just started putting that together in the last few days, so there could be
No,
ones.
no,
I'm just saying,
I-
there's ones that maybe we missed, so that was a chance for you guys to look at if we missed somebody.
I just want to be upfront with that, it's not gonna have any effect unless I've dealt with somebody that I particularly think is dishonest.
Dodge report, you can put that
Or
on.
job.
What's that?
Did they still have that Dodge report where you put all this construction on for bids?
FW Dodge,
Yeah.
I don't,
I believe so,
Probably.
but I don't.
probably.
Yeah, that gets you a lot of
I,
people in it.
there is something out there for stuff like that. I asked the contractor not too long ago. I'll try to get that information too, to see if it would be helpful.
I used to pull that off, just basically for the HVAC on these buildings going on, and I shipped HVAC to other states, just, you know, to be able to sell it at a good price.
There was there's somebody at S&G I talked to that said there was a site just like you're describing. I'll see if I can get that name. The other thing I think is the board needs to identify who they want for this, committee. And whether the board is planning on all 3 board members doing it, which I think would be a great thing, or just one. So I just think that's something you guys need to identify going forward here.
I would say no smaller than 3, probably no more than 7.
I was just about to say, we don't need all
Seven
people.
might be too many too.
Yeah, you don't need it.
I think the only way you get to 7 is if all 3 board members want to be a part of it, then I think that's fine. 7 is fine because you got 3 right there, but that's up to you guys. I mean, assuming
This
there's not many
we got
miles.
time to think
Colin,
about
during
that.
this process, we'll want you to consult with that
Yep.
construction manager or whatever, said this is what the county needs for whatever it is the county needs, so that we have IT. And
But I mean, you just mentioned earlier, you had Board of Supervisors, somebody from Public Health, Ryan and Rodney. That's, yeah, and all 3 of you, that's 6.
and I don't know that we need Rodney on the committee.
Okay.
We want him to work with that construction manager.
Okay.
But I don't know, like I just said to Colin, that he needs to
Yeah, maybe
be
that's
involved,
after the
maybe not
fact,
in the
yeah.
construction, but he's gonna be involved with the,
They do the
we have a
design
construction
work and
manager
stuff.
that they're gonna, when it comes to decision time for the, design and some of that stuff.
Yeah, as you move forward, once you select somebody and you start getting into some of those meetings about details, then there will definitely be other people involved. You know, maybe security might even have Kevin, when you start talking about that, you all, like you said, your selection committee is just simply getting somebody interviewed and picked.
And Jim, you mentioned Southeast Iowa Regional Planning. What if you were involved purely as a consultant? You didn't have a vote.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that would
I
be
mean,
see what I'm saying? They could say, well, this is what you're looking for, this is,
Well, I definitely think we should have that.
I mean, when we.
well, no, I'm involved, but I mean, not
Yeah.
necessarily, because however many people we have, those would be the people that vote, so if it's I think I would prefer to have you guys there as part of the consultant. I think we're.
Typically when we do is, we'll get the RFPs and then we get all the materials together too, like with scoring sheets and stuff, and we usually sit in on the meetings and stuff too, and
They sat in
give
on the bike
feedback
trail.
or whatever. I mean, it's pretty common for us to do.
And I really think Brian should be part of it. He's our only engineering. We need somebody from
It's the only
public health.
choice.
I don't know whether the public health board would want it to be Krista or Matt or whoever they might want
Watch
there.
out there, you're saying,
What?
okay.
And I don't know.
Krista or Matt will be okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, well, I'm just saying, we should have somebody representing a public health, because if we're sitting in a meeting with their, they can ask questions that certainly wouldn't occur to me.
I think it's a no-brainer. I can't imagine Krista not a part of it.
I think it should be Krista, because she's gonna be the one, if they bring up something that's going on, what you actually need in the building, Matt, and she's gonna be the one to know, more so than Matt.
That's fine, she could consult with the Board of Health and say,
Yeah.
this is what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Well, and Jim, you're also a representative on the board of
Yeah.
health, aren't you?
That's true.
Brian, sorry to hear why you're leaving, but
Yep, no problem.
drive
Thanks.
careful, have a
Drive
good safe
careful.
trip.
Yep,
Drive
catch up
careful.
with you guys a little bit later.
Colin?
I had a quick question, something I've been meaning to bring up and I keep kind of forgetting about it, but, wherever we end up putting, their new building, I'd like to connect it like we have connected, right now with public health over fiber. Is that fiber connection between like the courthouse and wherever we end up putting this building, is that part of that funding as well and part of that contract, or is that something we're gonna have to budget separately, or?
If it's part of the cost
I would believe it
of
would be.
constructing that public facility, I can't believe that it would not be part
Okay.
of the, at least the way I understand that, minimum final rule, and there, you know,
It's like
that's a
broad-
necessary
I
part
don't
of
know if
it.
it technically is broadband, but I mean, that's an eligible expense too.
Yeah, that, no, I can't imagine that it wouldn't be included.
Okay.
If it's just
We
a
will,
data
we will
connection,
certainly,
I guess
we will
that-
certainly
Yeah,
plan on it.
all
But that
all
is-
their,
I think that would.
all their
fit that
data,
definition.
all their stuff is here in the courthouse.
We-
They connect it over a fiber from
Gotcha.
their office, so wherever we put them, they're still gonna need that connection to
We
get
wouldn't want an
access to this.
up-to-date health department not to have access.
No,
Yeah.
maybe you could.
But I just didn't know if like funding wise, you know, since that's not really part of the building, if that would.
Well, I think it would be anything.
Okay,
Could be, you know, maybe Krista could run extension cord.
yeah.
But no, I can't imagine that wouldn't be part of it. That's a necessary part of it, and we certainly want that, the public health to have that. So I guess, what do you guys think? Do you have the whole board on it?
I prefer to have the whole board myself.
Okay. Well then, what if we have, three of us, Ryan and Krista? That sound okay?
Is that, not that that's a big deal, but does that mean, does that have to be a public, we have to advertise if all three of you are together for that, or?
Yes,
I would assume.
yes.
And that's fine, I just wanna make sure
Yeah.
that we're thinking of that ahead of time.
So it's a public meeting, so Robbie can
Yeah.
be there,
And it's
Yep.
gonna be
Colin can
trained.
be there.
And that's fine, I just
I'll
wanna
have to
make
be
sure
there,
we don't
or
forget
Sarah.
to think about that.
Even if
when
two
the
of
time
us
comes
is on there, it
Yeah.
have to be the
Okay.
same way, so anyway, that.
That's not a big deal, it's just
that
something I
makes
wanna make
everything
sure
transparent,
we're aware of.
so.
Well, that gives us 5, so we don't have an even number. Well, I guess an even number
I don't know
doesn't
if that makes
matter
a
so much
huge
when you're
deal.
when you're going with points along there, and it's not just a yes or no, or
Right.
aye or nay. Is there anybody who thinks we should have anybody else on there?
Unless somebody thinks of somebody later on, it's like,
I think the Purple Five will get her done. We all know what we're trying to do here. It ain't like, you know,
What
we're
else?
we're trying to get this thing built and get it done efficiently and cost effective, so I think we're good with that. We got CP.
What do we
Rodney's
pay?
gonna be available to run his trap like he does, you know how Rodney does.
Would it be beneficial at all to have somebody from the county attorney on there, just in case there's any question with the wording, or do we, wanna keep the meetings a little shorter?
I'm never against the lawyer being
I
there,
know,
but it just makes it.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
They could just sit in on the meeting,
the
they don't
only
have to be on a
question
committee.
is how much knowledge do they have of these kinds of, right?
Quite honestly, I had an attorney once, I don't even remember what project it was, but this is what he did. And so the University of Iowa Construction Specifications is a book this thick. He didn't have to open it. You just exactly, whatever you're talking about, section 5, you know, this is it, or the code of standard practice for this or that. He says, they can't do that, he said, because this is what, I'd never seen anything like it. So yeah, there's a specialty there.
I think
But-
maybe your wife would be a good one, if she can read all that into
You guys could study together.
But that's a good idea, and we should probably, actually, when we get that RFQ finished, we should probably have the county attorney read it to make sure that we aren't, gonna be making payments on a Hut and Aleutians for the next 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to be on the committee, but I wouldn't mind being able to sit in on the meetings, just to kind of keep
You,
informed of what's happening.
you were always, well, your input's valuable. I didn't mean to imply that it wasn't. And we want you involved, that's, and I know you guys are both concerned with this, and I am. So let's tentatively say that the committee is the board, county engineer, and a public health director.
Yep.
And the public health director can speak to the board of health about it a little bit, and so can you. We'll be getting, and Zach, you or Mike or whoever it be, I assume it'll be you, be sort of the consultant, as this goes along. And,
I'll talk to Maya, I'm guessing it'll be me, but
yeah,
it's fine.
anyway, and, but yeah, we'll need input from a lot of people. And then, I don't know whether were you just gonna send, to everybody on this, but.
That's what we typically do, we get a list and
And
send it
that's,
to all,
that's fine, I
but,
don't have any problem with that.
but
I'm just-
we're just developing the list and we can add to it or take off too.
Well,
It's
that's-
just a starting point to,
The,
I don't know.
it doesn't look like you're going to, except the.
I try to kind of keep.
Urbandale might be a ways, but.
I only had them on there just because I worked with them on a couple projects, so it's familiar with them.
That's fine if you've got, the only reason is like, this isn't a big project
Yeah.
for some of those companies. And so whether they would be interested in going that far away for a project that size.
I try to stick to kind of Quad City, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City,
Yeah.
Southeast Iowa.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I don't have any problem with that list. I look at it, other than say, like I said, I'm well, I know some of those people that I've worked with, probably more than that. Of course, I'm thinking, when Burlington Schools, I'm thinking it was, Nelson and Estes Company is who was bidding on that. I don't know the rest of
We've
it.
worked with Estes a few times on.
Is what?
We've worked with Estes a few
Yep,
times
and
on
I've worked with
projects.
both Estes and Nelson. Okay, so if we give them we're gonna give them a month, we want them to have it by the first week in January, did we say?
Yeah, the 7th is the
I put down the
first of the
7th.
week.
Anyway, so if we were gonna, send it out, we wanna send it out by the end of November.
And November.
First of
December.
December.
First December.
What's,
I think the second maybe is the Friday. I don't know, just looking at it a minute ago.
December Thursday.
is a Friday.
Third, okay, yeah, so maybe sometime then, at the end of that.
well, we've actually got, well, Thanksgiving's in there, but we've actually got
Week.
two meetings
Yeah.
left in, why don't you, if you could make the changes to that and, email that to us. We'll get a chance to look at it a little bit. If we wanna make any other changes, get a little time to think about it before we send it out.
Yeah, we get that.
Yeah, I'm thinking we could probably get it out sometime that week of the 29th,
Yeah.
Okay.
if everything looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay, well, it's a little bit exciting to finally get started. A
It
little
will,
bit.
won't it? It's,
It'll be fun.
just for, I'm not crippled yet, just for me from walking out here and walking up that hill to go in that front door up there. By the time I do that, I feel like I've walked 4 or 5 miles.
It's good exercise.
You gotta take a stress test to get there.
That is, it's a steep hill.
I can't imagine what some of these old people do, you know?
Drive around the block several times
But that-
until a spot comes open up on the hill.
That'll be our criteria for a new site, is it-
That intersection
it's
and
a-
get out. I
it's
have
a
seen
flat
park
area.
Right there in the road.
Oh.
We've seen them do that.
It's bad.
I know, I've climbed this hill a few times.
I think I'm good. Do you guys have anything else for me? I gotta.
No, thank you, Zach.
Next time you come, we'll take donuts and coffee and rolls. I'll get tired of eating them.
And anyway, so yeah,
I like them a lot.
if you can make those changes,
I get
again,
you one right.
email that to us and we'll, actually, if you can get it to us,
I
like
think we
Friday.
could probably get it in the next couple days, I would think.
Yeah, get it out so we can look at it Friday if we wanted to, and make sure we didn't just count on putting it on the agenda
Yeah.
to look it over with a little bit.
Okay,
Okay, thanks.
Thanks,
Yep.
Zach.
No problem.
Appreciate everything you do.
no problem at all.
Thanks to all of you for.
Thank you.
We adjourn?
We're adjourned.
Have anything?
No, a little, I was just asked, do we have to be
CMS certified, public health building.